Good morning. It is Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. It's just after 10 a.m. on the East Coast. This is Rob Sin at CEO Technician on X, at Goldfinger on co.ca. And this is Goldfinger Capital on YouTube and Substack. Before we get into it, I want to run through a few charts, some recent news releases of companies that I'm following that caught my attention. But before we do that, I just want to say a few things. You can probably be pretty sure that if it's a company that you've seen me talk about on X or on my Substack or on my YouTube videos, and they put out news, I'm probably aware of it. And if I'm going to comment on it, I probably will within a couple of days. And maybe sometimes I just feel like there's not really much to say about it, right? So you don't really need to nudge me. If you think that I missed something, yeah, shoot me a private message, shoot me an email. This is my full-time occupation, both as an investor in precious metals and mining and even biotech, but also as a content creator. I spend a lot of hours, hundreds of hours generating content, doing research, coming up with new ideas and cutting edge insights that might help my subscribers and my viewers to get an edge in the market, right? So yeah, just be aware of that. It is my full-time job, so I am focused on it pretty intently, and I usually will comment within a couple of days. You don't need to worry about that. But let's get into this video. So Kingfisher Metals, and by the way, I was just in Toronto for 5 days and Metals Investor Forum, PDAC. A lot to integrate, a lot to process there. I'll probably talk more about that over the next week, either in a blog post or a video. But here, Kingfisher Metals. So this is a PDAC news release. We knew this was coming, closing this bought deal financing, $30 million. So let's put this into perspective, right? Back in early December, this was a company that definitely did not have $30 million being offered to it, right? Wow, and look at that. It's jumping up to 87 right now. This is beautiful. Fortunes changed in less than 2 months. Remember, check out my Substack, and I'm actually going to have an article on this soon. Goldfinger's 2025 tax loss silly season shopping list. December 2nd, 22 cents a share. Kingfisher made the list. Look at what it's done since. So not really to take a victory lap, but just pointing out that it was very out of favor in early December, and they definitely did not have $30 million knocking on their door, right? So there was a lot of question about financing and how much they could raise for 2026. And all those questions got answered the first 2 months of the year. And BMO and Agentis and Haywood and Raymond James, they really came to bat and came up with a big check for Kingfisher, $30 million. So the term game changer is used all the time in junior mining, but this really is a game changer for Kingfisher. I think last year they raised 10 or 11 million. They kind of ran out of budget at the end of the season. They could have drilled more, right? So this year with 30 million, they don't have that same issue, right? They can basically drill until winter rolls in nasty and hard, right? They can drill from June through maybe even early October, right? So a lot of meters could get drilled this year at Highway 37, right? And look at what the stock did. So throughout most of February, with the financing pending, the stock dripped lower, consolidated, almost came back to the deal price. Remember, I pounded the table on that 69-cent level. I said, if you get it at 69, you're getting a really good entry. I hope some of you picked away a few shares there, because look at what we're doing now, right? So the financing, quote unquote, overhang is gone. Now the stock is free to lift. And that's what it's doing. Okay. This is absolutely not only one of the 6 stocks I put on my 2025 tax loss silly season shopping list, but this is absolutely one of my top 5 stocks, period, top junior miners for 2026. And nothing changes that, right? Like, this is an incredibly bullish setup fundamentally in terms of the target rich environment at Highway 37, the quality of the management team, and the financial backing for Kingfisher. And I could absolutely see it trade above $1 before the drills hit the ground there at Hank in June, right? Now, it's probably not going to go in a straight line. And when I say above $1, it could be $1.05, it could be $1.10. I'm not necessarily calling for it to go to like $1.50. You know, we don't want to get too carried away, but it is bullish. And I hope you got some around 69 or 70 cents during the dip, right? So that's Kingfisher Metals. And Dustin has worked hard, as a bunch of CEOs did, including the Hercules CEO, that is Chris Paul, and the chairman of Hercules, Matthew Boss. They did the double BMO PDAC back to back, a lot of meetings, and I think it's showing up in the price action in the stock, right? Strikepoint Gold. So this is focused in Nevada, Walker Lane Trend. It's actually called the Hercules Gold Project, nothing to do with Hercules Metals, but it is a neighboring state to Idaho. And Mike Allen was on my panel at Metals Investor Forum, and I like this setup, right? So this is a nice big basing pattern in Strikepoint's chart. Look at the news. So the last 2 news releases, definitely spend some time reading these news releases, right? Strikepoint Gold acquired the Como mining district from Newmont Mining. So this is something that I've been talking with Mike about for over a year, acquiring this ground in the middle of Strikepoint's property holding, right? And, you know, Newmont held this for more than a decade. They didn't really do a whole lot with it, but look at some of these historical grades here at Como. There's some nice drill intercepts, a lot of nice surface sampling, and some past producing mines like the Como mine, the Hooley Logan mine, and the Pony Meadows mine. And this is sort of in a trend, right? You can see, you can kind of draw a line through there, right? So this was a big coup. And it's all cash, right? And it's all back end loaded, right? So only after they advance it to a PA and get into production does Newmont get the real money, right? And it's like a total of like $5 million, but that's all back end loaded. So Strikepoint did very well on this acquisition from Newmont. And then they commenced drilling. So the drill is turning there in Nevada. And so, you know, what more could we ask for? Like, you know, Strikepoint is executing. Mike is doing what he says he's going to do. And I think they have a pretty good chance of meeting their goal of putting out a resource later this year, totaling roughly 1 million ounces at roughly a 0.5 gram per ton gold average grade, right? And that may not excite a whole lot of people, only 1 million ounces at a 0.5 gram, but it's a start, and it's in Nevada. It's near surface. It's in oxides, right? And look at the company's market cap. Okay, whatever it is, 13, 14 million Canadian. Yeah, right. So to me, it's kind of I hate saying it, but it's kind of a no-brainer at 20 cents. Okay. Endurance Gold, I've talked a lot about this one, both in my MIF presentation and other videos. There was a recent interview with Robert Boyd, but basically I'm just going to keep it super simple. If you really want to do some DD, dig into this one, because they put out their NI 43-101 technical report for the MRE for the, you know, Reliance Gold Project. So definitely check that out. A lot of information. You could spend all weekend on SEDAR reading this one. Okay, a lot to unpack, so to speak, right? And the most important thing to understand for 2026 is that Endurance will close the financing next week. So I think it's next Wednesday. And then they will mobilize to site, to the project in the Braylorn Gold Camp of BC in April. So let's say 45 days from the date of the closing of the financing. And then there's just drilling for like 6 months. And there's a lot of high priority drill holes to be drilled and targets to be tested, both the soil anomaly at Eagle that's offset to the south, which is a very large soil anomaly. It'd be very interesting to see that drilled. Also, some more gaps to be filled in the Eagle and Olympus and Crown areas, and then also deeper drilling along some of those gold bearing structures, and then also some of the parallel shear zones and the area over to the east, northeast, which has some very interesting wildcat targets, right? So there's a lot for endurance to do, and I like the little consolidation. It reminds me of the Kingfisher chart, right? Stock drips low or consolidates during a financing, right? Financing closes and the stock lifts. So let's see if endurance does that. TDG Gold was also on my Metals Investor Forum panel, and I think this one is just not well understood. I think some shareholders dumped this one because they saw there was a pivot from the Toodoggone to BC and this new VMS project that they're focusing on. But the thing you need to understand is that the 200 million Canadian market cap is well supported by the Toodoggone assets and basically having the western portion of the Aurora deposit. I think that gives them a foundation of value, because obviously that is valuable to Freeport or whoever wants to consolidate that asset. They have money in the bank, I think 15 million in the treasury, so there's no imminent financing necessary. And this VMS project, at the Antioch project is pretty interesting. Give these guys a chance to show what they got here, right? So I like, the chart looks terrible, but I like picking away at it. 76, 75, 74. Certainly if it drops lower, I like accumulating while it's out of favor. And then we'll end with Arizona. I don't think the importance of this can be overstated. Hudbay acquiring Arizona Sonoran for US $1.5 billion, creating the third largest copper district in North America. This is a big deal. And I think that, Freeport is that much more compelling. I think Hudbay is that much more compelling. And I think Arizona and US copper assets are that much more compelling. So if you want to go down the risk spectrum, Corcel Exploration, CRCL, is one to take a look at. They're a sponsor. I am biased. I'm a shareholder, so put that out there. Do your own due diligence, please. But I think this one is very interesting. So they got their drill permits. They have the money to drill. Drill program is planned. It's going to start here in March. I don't have an exact date, but I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. And it's the Yuma King project in western Arizona. So this is kind of an overlooked area of Arizona in proximity of Freeport's Baghdad mine. It's a copper moly mine. It's a very big copper moly mine, a lot of moly. And this Corcel is going to drill this project that hasn't been drilled since 2008. They've done IP, they've done a lot of surface exploration mapping, and they're going to do even more IP, and they're going to drill. Right. So this one is interesting. And the market cap is, I think, sort of around Strikepoint's territory, 13, 14 million, in that ballpark. Right. And it's Arizona. It's way under the radar. Just something for you to take a look at, right? Just take a look at it, and you'll probably see me write and comment more about this once the drilling gets underway, and certainly once we start to get results. So that's Corcel in western Arizona. And that is it for me on this Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I hope it's a powerful trading week. Thank you.